Good morning. Welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Thursday, October 21st, 2010. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the United States. It's 4:30 p.m. in London. In Hamilton, Bermuda, it's 12:30 p.m. And for our friends in Mexico City, it's 10:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. On this day in 1879, about 28 miles away from us in Menlo Park, New Jersey, Thomas Alva Edison invented the light bulb. It was only 141 years ago. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, is 61 today. I want to welcome Dorian Blake, who is a good friend of ours from QBE Europe, who is watching today. It's good to be back in contact with him. Before we get to the news, 2 points. One regarding the American economy. The jobless numbers came out today. It showed 23,000 fewer unemployed than the last jobless number. Also, some leading economic indicators statistics came out, and they look very good. Also in the U.S., many newspapers and media outlets are speculating that peace may be breaking out in Afghanistan. There are many stories about the Taliban being escorted under NATO protection to Kabul to have meetings with Mohammad Karzai. There was also a lead story in today's New York Times that Kandahar, a Taliban stronghold in the southwestern part of the country, has now succumbed to NATO control, and believe it or not, things are cautiously looking good. Although we don't like to say that with Afghanistan, the British and many people before them learned that you never say things like that. We'll go to our main news. Well, let's bring up this map. If you're in Hong Kong today, you're breathing a bit of a sigh of relief. It looks as if Typhoon Maggie is going to head to the north of you, although now, of course, it's endangered Taiwan. Hundreds of thousands of people have been evacuated. Now the storm is re-intensified. It's back up to a Category 4 storm. It's got winds of about 130 miles an hour. About 200,000 people have been evacuated. Some 54,000 fishing boats have been recalled to port. It's expected to make landfall in Guangdong province in China on Saturday. The Chinese authorities have posted red warnings, the highest level, meaning the storm could cause huge, devastating waves along the coast. According to one of the forecasters with the Chinese forecasting agency, the storm surge itself could be so devastating that buildings, docks, villages, and cities could be destroyed by it. The same forecaster said that Typhoon Maggie could cause a 50-year storm surge when it makes landfall. There was a strong earthquake in Chile this morning. Actually, it was last night. It was a 5.8. If you're familiar with the big earthquake in February that occurred here, you see that this occurred in just about the same area. There were no reports of any damage or any injuries. It occurred at 9:49 p.m. local time last night. It was about 190 miles west-southwest of Santiago. The big quake in February was an 8.8 that did an estimated $30 billion worth of damage. Well, when we woke up this morning, we were following something called Tropical Depression number 19, and then at 10 a.m., the National Hurricane Service officially christened it as Hurricane Richard. And there it is. It's the 19th tropical depression of this season. It formed late yesterday and then mutated into Richard this morning. The system formed in the warm waters of the Western Caribbean. Right now, it's got maximum sustained winds of only 35 miles per hour, but it's expected to produce as much as 10 inches of rain over Jamaica, and in some areas as much as 15 inches. According to meteorologists, residents of the American Gulf Coast should keep an eye on this one. One quote said, "It's likely to be the first hurricane to hit the main USA this season, somewhere on the Gulf Coast, probably near the end of this month. It's shown to be possibly striking anywhere from Louisiana to Tampa Bay." In the Russian Northeast, 13 gas industry workers were injured in a gas explosion at a Novatec gas processing plant up in the Arctic Circle. The explosion caused 13 people to receive various injuries, according to the company. The operations building was destroyed. Novatec is Russia's largest independent gas company. It produced 3.1 billion cubic meters of gas last year and 1/10 of that production came from this field. So it could, in fact, cause a little bit of a delivery disturbance. Well, we'll go to France today. The big vote has now been postponed from Wednesday to Thursday and now till tomorrow. This would be the vote to raise the retirement age to 62. We're finally getting some economic figures today. Jean Pellin, the Director General of France's Chemical Industry Association, said that the civil disturbances are costing up to $160 million a day. He estimated that over €1 billion in lost turnover has already occurred. He indicated that tens of thousands of businesses have been hit by the strike actions due to lack of fuel and transport disruption. The Société Nationale des Chemins de Fer, the French national railway operator, says that it's losing about $30 million a day. What's going on today is the president has indicated that he's going to take a very firm stand. Protesters continue to block the main airport at France's largest city, Marseille. If this is of any use to anybody, Lady Gaga has canceled concerts in Paris, and rioting young people, high school students, are attacking police in Lyon, the third largest city in France, turning over cars and setting them on fire. President Sarkozy indicated that he's going to go to the end here, and it is not troublemakers who will have the last word in a democracy. He accused the strikers of taking the economy, businesses, and daily life hostage. So the big vote will be tomorrow. Oddly enough, about 80% of French public opinion is with the strikers. So it's a very difficult spot for Sarkozy, and we'll certainly be reporting on the vote tomorrow. Stock market in New York is up about 61 points right now. We'll go to a word from our sponsors.
Every day, the world wakes up and goes to work, pursuing the unique opportunities that lead the global economy forward. The complexity and close connectivity of today's global marketplace is a true modern miracle that can create unparalleled success. But it takes confidence, passion, innovation, and understanding.
Enabling opportunity.
Protecting capital.
Engineering innovation.
Investing in your future.
Ensuring continuity.
Finding the right balance.
It takes Aon.
U.S. commercial insurance prices fell 5.2% in the third quarter. This is according to the Council of Insurance Agents and Brokers. Supposedly, it's because competition has forced insurers to reduce rates. The rate of decline for property and casualty renewals slowed from the 6.4% decrease in the second quarter down to the 5.2%. So at least it slowed down a little bit, but that's still the rate of decrease. Prices aren't going up. According to Ken Crerar, the council president, carriers are still willing to compete on terms, conditions, and price. Barring any unforeseen events, there's nothing on the horizon that suggests a dramatic change in the market's direction. That's not good news for reinsurers because it's all coming out of that initial premium dollar. Bermudian reinsurer Platinum Underwriters has closed the first 3 quarters of the year with net income of about $233 million. That's a decrease of 20%. It's reflected in part by a 16% drop in earned premiums to about $595 million and about $28.5 million in claims losses from the New Zealand earthquake. Underwriting income fell 25% down to $123 million. The combined ratio increased from 76.6% up to 79.3%. That's pretty darn good still. With the quake losses, Platinum's third quarter net income dipped by 14% down to $94 million or $2.13 a share. Analysts had projected earnings of $1.44, so they still did better than that. Michael Price, the CEO, said, despite an overcapitalized reinsurance market, we've developed an acceptable portfolio of treaty reinsurance risks. Well, boy, you wouldn't want to make a deal with this guy. If he's been able to make this kind of a deal with Goldman Sachs, you know he can make a deal with anybody and still get the better of them. Goldman Sachs is considering paying back a $5 billion investment from Warren Buffett. Buffett loaned the company the money during the worst of the financial crisis. He announced the Berkshire cash investment in September of 2008, which was a vote of confidence that helped Goldman raise an additional $5 billion the next day. You might remember what was going on in September of 2008. It was a sinking Titanic-like chaos of the financial markets. Goldman has the option to redeem the preferred shares held by Mr. Buffett for $5.5 billion. Although that move would trigger a charge of $1.6 billion on their end, it would also require approval by the Federal Reserve. He drove a hard bargain, Mr. Buffett did, with Goldman, including big dividends and curbs on the sale of Goldman stock by company executives. It's not yet clear if Goldman has yet sought formal federal approval to pay him back, but they're looking closely at whether to use a small chunk of their estimated $173 billion in excess liquidity to unwind the investment. One reason for this move? Well, the dividend payments of 10% a year on Buffett's perpetual preferred shares have cost Goldman about $1 billion so far. That payout is equivalent to more than $1.3 million a day, or for those of you who really don't have any time and have a calculator, about $15 a second. I wouldn't want to have to make a deal with him. Travelers Insurance Company up in Hartford made some news. The largest publicly traded U.S. P&C insurer easily beat Wall Street estimates for the third quarter. Their premiums rose in its personal insurance lines and their cat losses fell sharply. They've also raised their operating earnings outlook for the year by more than 10%. Travelers said the net income rose to a little over $1 billion, or $2.11 a share, up from $1.65 a share a year earlier. Analysts had been expecting earnings of about $1.50 a share, so they really blew the doors off. Travelers paid out $117 million in the quarter to cover cat losses. That's about 26% less than the period a year earlier. Well, this is deja vu all over again. Toyota is recalling over 1.5 million cars. This time Lexuses, Avalons, and other models, mainly in the U.S. and Japan, for brake fluid and fuel pump problems. Toyota said this morning it will call back for repairs about 740,000 cars in the United States and about 600,000 in Japan. The rest are in Europe. Over the past year now, Toyota has recalled more than 10 million cars and trucks for a variety of problems. We all remember the faulty gas pedals and floor mats. This particular problem is with the brake master cylinder, which could lead to weaker braking power. So check your car. In the southern Philippines on Mindanao Island, at least 10 people were killed after a bomb ripped through a passenger bus. The local police said that more than 50 passengers were on board. The bomb apparently was in an overhead compartment. There was no immediate claim for responsibility, but Mindanao Island is the scene of a very long struggle that the Filipino government has been having with Muslim separatists who have been fighting for an independent homeland there for decades. Well, for our final story, you probably could have guessed that we were going to run this one. Let's pick this picture up. We've all read the stories about the